All right. So our next review of the day is going to be for the television series, the latest Disney Plus Star Wars series. There, and you say like, "Well, I'm tired of these Star Wars Disney Plus series. Well, too fucking bad. You're getting another one, and you're going to complain about it." And this is going to be our review for Skeleton Crew. So Skeleton Crew is the latest one here, 8 episode series. This was created by John Watts there and Christopher Ford. John Watts, people might know he was the director of the MCU Spider-Man movies there. Christopher Ford is also one of the creators here. Christopher Ford there, he's a frequent collaborator with John Watts there and a lot of his stuff. Um, and what is this about? Well, it's Goonies plus Star Wars. That's kind of like a lot of people were saying, especially when they saw the trailer for this. You got a group of kids, and they go on this adventure across the galaxy. So you have these group of kids who live in this, as we learn here, this planet that is off kind of world, off the maps. Like it doesn't even exist. It's kind of a mystery for a lot of people, an urban legend at this place that they're from. And when they end up kind of escaping, well, not really escaping, but just kind of fleeing this kind of planet there because by accident, really, these group of kids, they're trying to make their way back. And along their way, there through this adventure through the galaxy, they meet Jude Law, who is this mysterious figure. Is he friend? Is he foe? You know, he's kind of got like this bad reputation around the galaxy, all these places they kind of visit. And yeah, so that's kind of the basic setup here you have of the Skeleton Crew there. And this is as far as the if you're kind of obsessed with the timeline thing of Star Wars and where it fits in there. So this is 5 years after the fall of the Galactic Empire. So this is the New Republic era that we're in here as a part of that. So you got that. Um Chris, you're a big Star Wars guy. You watch a lot of the Star Wars stuff. What are your thoughts on the Skeleton Crew?
Um, so Josh, I don't know how you handle negative comments, but on TikTok, I like to either delete them or just mute them. Um, I am a Star Wars guy, as I like to say, so I will give just about anything Star Wars related a chance. Um, if you go on TikTok, I covered every episode of this show. I was not crazy about the 2 episode premiere. I was a little worried as to how suburban this world did look. I understand what they're going for, but there's ways to adapt it to make it look more Star Warsy, more galaxy far, far away. And this 2 episode premiere, I'm like, whoa. Are they? I understand the inspiration, but they're not even trying. Like this is straight up suburban America, just in Star Wars, and it does not look. It looks like our world. I was not a fan of that. Um, I instantly fell in love with the character Neil, our blue elephant friend. I think the first time we see that species is in Return of the Jedi. There's a
Max
blue,
Rebo.
yeah, Max Rebo. Yep, he's on the drums. So to see that species of alien uh, here in like a prominent role was cool to see. I also was not a fan of the um, finale. I was not. I thought it ended very abruptly. I thought it ended with a lot of things not tied up. And in the end, Jude Law was hired as a list name to kind of anchor attention to the show. Now that it's all said and done, that's clearly what that was because his character, um, Jod Nanawad, or he has several aliases. Um, yeah, just kind of a waste of a character. We really don't learn much about him. He's force sensitive. He has some knowledge of Jedi philosophy, but we don't ever learn what we need to learn about his character to truly understand or like contextualize him. Um, I'm not a big Goonies guy the way I am like with other things from the 80s. So um, I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel, but these kids definitely did grow on me. I didn't think they were going to, but they did. In the end, Neil and KB were my favorite characters. Um, even though I didn't like beginning or the ending. I was there for the journey. I was definitely vibing with the journey. And episode 6, Bryce Dallas Howard's episode, is easily my favorite episode of the entire show. Um, for the first time ever, Star Wars tackled the conversation of ableism and disability, and they did it in a very eloquent way that even kids can understand. Um, with all that said, the problem with Skeleton Crew primarily is that this is what follows the Acolyte, and the Acolyte on a whole was disappointing. If it wasn't disappointing, it would have came back for a second season. The show's viewership had diminishing returns, so we were not getting a second season of Acolyte, and now we're getting this. Um, Skeleton Crew is not bad. It's just not what we need right now in Star Wars. Star Wars, 2024 was rough. Um, Bad Batch season 3 was the best thing we got last year as far as Star Wars media. Acolyte was disappointing, and Skeleton Crew definitely gauged more towards kids. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Star Wars originally is geared towards 12 year olds and who can watch it on a Saturday morning. That's the way George Lucas described it. Um, but yeah, I just don't know if this was what Star Wars needs right now. It needs a hit. It needs something that everyone
Mhm.
enjoys, like Mandalorian. It needs something that's just gonna bring everyone together, and I don't think Skeleton Crew was that project. But I was along for the ride, but overall, not my favorite. I definitely have it above. Like, I went in with no expectations, and I
Mhm.
liked it just fine. So I do have it above. You know, when we get to the ranking, I do have it above Acolyte and Obi-Wan Kenobi. But
Okay.
yeah, overall, just not. It didn't scratch the itch that Acolyte left behind. So when I finished Skeleton Crew, I immediately went and watched like Bad Batch or like Clone Wars. A more quality Star Wars program.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of where I am. Same thing. I think it's better than Acolyte, which I guess some people go, that's not really a high bar to jump over.
Yeah,
Pretty low bar.
yeah.
I did like it better than maybe Obi-Wan. I think I did like it better than that. Um, And then some people complain a lot with these kind of, not only these Disney Plus Star Wars shows, but just a lot of these streaming things in general, that it doesn't feel like an actually episodic show. It just feels like this is more of a 2.5 hour film, especially with the Obi-Wan thing. That just felt like you really could have just kind of condensed this and made it like a 2.5 hour film, and it would probably been a lot more concise and been better. Do you think the same thing? You think Skeleton Crew is more actually episodic, or do you think it has that same problem as something like Obi-Wan, where it feels like maybe you just should have done a movie instead of like an 8 episode series?
It definitely felt episodic for me, but yeah, just the journey. We could have learned a bit more from certain characters, especially seeing how the show ends so abruptly. They could have expanded a bit more on the mystery of the planet At Aten, which is a essentially a treasure planet. Um, it is so much so a treasure planet that like it's hidden, like the planet is hidden in like a shroud of space storms. Um, which was a cool reveal. Like before, at the beginning of the show, when they leave the planet, we didn't know there were, we didn't know their planet was so hidden, so secretive. Um, and I'm also not a fan when we have alien characters who speak basic. It just comes off as cheesy and as corny. In the original trilogy, if there's an alien character, they spoke whatever language they spoke, and it just felt more real, felt more it didn't feel corny. It felt more threatening, if you have a massive creature speaking a different language, it's more imposing. You can take it more seriously as a threat. When these two boys are at this pirate port, they sit down for food. Every alien there speaking basic, and I get it, it's for kids, but it comes off as a little silly for me. Um, and yeah, like I said, Jod, Jude Law's character, some of the writing is lacking. Character development is lacking. I when I first started the show, I thought, okay, I'm definitely going to be leaning on Jude Law to anchor the show. I ended up being wrong. I ended up not being a fan of his character at all, and I ended up loving the kids. So, yeah, that episode that I really enjoyed with KB, um, and her. It's the first time we saw a character in Star Wars who's a cyborg, and being a cyborg wasn't just a cool aesthetic; it was actually a part of their character, and we learned what their cybernetic enhancement or augmentation is for. And, she's a young girl who has a moment where she needs to slow down because the battery in her whatever her
Visor.
her visor is corroded. It's been days without maintenance. They're in these cold, wet, steamy environments, and her tech is rusting, and she needs help. And Fern, her able-bodied friend, isn't sensitive to her physical needs. She goes on ahead, and KB stays with main character Wim, and Wim, melts down wires and makes a mold, makes a battery for her, puts it in her visor, and she's good. And she thanks him because she almost died. Like, that was very close. He's like, close to what? Total system shutdown. That was just a great scene, and I thought it made sense that when the credits rolled, it was Bryce Dallas Howard, because she historically just brings something very special to Star Wars, and I still hope she gets to direct a movie someday because she would kill it.
And that's the girl right there with the visor.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's KB. She's one of my favorite characters. Her and Neil, the blue elephant. They definitely won me over. I forget the young actress's name, but she did a great job with portraying, like, okay, I'm slowing down. Her speech slows down. Her physicality slows down.
Kyrian Crater.
Yes, yes. Um, she was really great in that episode, and it's my favorite episode of the show, episode 6. So yeah, I enjoyed the journey. I definitely enjoyed the journey. I could appreciate the treasure planet kind of vibe going on.
Mhm.
Um, because of the animated series Clone Wars, I personally like the idea of pirates in Star Wars. It makes a lot of sense. Not everyone likes the idea of pirates in Star Wars, and I get it. Um, but yeah, there was just something missing from the writing. Some characters weren't. For me, it's what really hurts the show is the finale. It was not a strong finale. I was there for the journey, and when we got to what is what it's really about, the show kind of just ended. Like, Jude Law's character, no repercussions. Did he die? We don't know. Um, um, what happens next for the kids? Like, what does life look like after they know the truth about their world? The show ends on a silly joke from Fern saying, "Well, at least you don't have to do your assessment anymore," and the show ends. I'm like, there's no way the show ends there.
Yeah.
They're leaving a lot left undone, and that's what really bothers me with this finale here.
Mhm.
And it, honestly, it's what really hurts the show. Like, the fact that it ends this way. I'm like, okay, well, no. What does Wim do next? Now that the adventure is over, what does life look like for these kids now that the adventure is over? Um, we never learned about Wim, and where's his mom? Assuming his mom is a white woman. His father is a dark skinned black man, and Wim is like light skin, curly hair, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
Where's your mama?
Yeah.
um, uh, yeah, like, there's just a lot we still. When the show ends, there's a lot that's not left tied up, and I really did not like that, because I was really along for the journey. I didn't like the beginning. I loved the journey, and then the ending kind of fell apart for me.
Mm. Okay. Um, yeah. I mean, so with Skeleton Crew, I mean, clearly, like you said, I mean, you have younger actors in this, child actors, who I think for the most part, I think they do a solid job in it. I think they do a pretty good job with the material. Um, I don't think they're, sometimes I mean, kid actors, it can be kind of a rough bag sometimes it can be kind of good, sometimes it can be bad, it can be annoying at times. Stranger Things, I think they struck gold with their child actors because it's like, wow, you got some really great child actors to do this great material. Um, so I think they do fine here. I think the child actors in this, and I mentioned Goonies at first of like the things that they're clearly drawing inspiration from. But not only do they draw from Goonies, they also draw from Peter Pan. Like the Robin Williams Peter Pan, and then
Yeah,
the whole stuff with the Treasure Island that you mentioned. Like that's very like a kids movie type thing there with that, and they draw a lot of inspirations from a lot of these other different kid movies there, and it'd be interesting to hear what a kid thinks about this, like, if the age range of actually the kids in this show, like, if they were to watch this, because obviously they wanna get more kids into Star Wars, right? I don't think, so much as like, okay, a lot of the old ass men, 40 plus year olds, like, this really okay, we trying to also get some younger kids in here, okay, to actually watch this so they can grow up loving Star Wars and everything like that. So it'd be interesting to hear their perspective to see what they kinda think of this, if this really appeals to them and this is something for them. And I will say that kind of going through this journey, them kind of bouncing to these different worlds here and there, with the Jude Law character. I think Jude Law works really well with the kids. I think he actually, you know what I mean? He worked really well. I mean, he's a veteran actor, Jude Law. I mean, he's been in so much stuff there and been amazing and everything. It's hard to name a bad Jude Law performance. I think every performance I've ever got,
exactly.
everything he's ever been, even if the movie's not so good, he's usually very good in it. Even if it isn't so good, he usually does really great with the material. So yeah, I loved him. Well, I'd say I loved him, but I did like him. I liked him working with the child actors there. I think that was kind of one of his best things. I kind of like that. They played with because in Star Wars when somebody's a roguish, dashing type kind of character, there's like, well, at the end, they got a heart of gold. Like they're gonna do the right thing. But I kind of like they kept him a piece of shit pretty much throughout the whole thing. You know what I mean? And it wasn't like, oh well, he's got a heart of gold in there somewhere, and these kids are gonna bring it out of him, and he's gonna be a really good guy. So I did kind of appreciate that in it that they kind of kept him like that. And not to say that they had to reveal everything about him as a character, and then and all the things. I think it was kind of nice that they kept it more mysterious. They could kind of play with it of what is really his origin and where does he really come from and how does he know these certain things. I kind of like that element. You understand what I'm saying
Hmm.
as far as that goes?
Hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, I kind of like that a little bit there with him. I do agree with you about the ending. And these episodes, they're not very long. The first episode's an hour, but the rest of the episodes are usually like 30 minutes to 40
Yeah, they're,
minutes.
yeah, they're short.
So they're not very long. And then when it kind of gets to the end, you're right, it does kind of just shut off. It's like, wait, that's it? Like I thought it was gonna be a little bit of an epilogue of like, okay, them patching up the town and them like, okay,
Exactly.
like what's gonna happen like afterwards now that because you see in this show that this place of edit like all these people are incredibly sheltered. They
Yes.
have no concept of the outside world really, of the galaxy, of what's out there. And you see that this place is run by like this giant computer.
This giant droid, yeah, massive droid.
And that controls everything, controls their electricity, controls their whole life. The people that work the teachers and everything like that. They're droids there and everything. So it's controlled by this massive droid, and then like these people are so sheltered that when pirates come and then they invade eventually, it's like, oh shit, how are these people gonna because they don't know how to defend themselves because they've had
Exactly.
droids do all the work for them for their whole entire life.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of you could have dug a little bit deeper into that aspect of things of like these people are, kind of more sheltered and everything like that. And these kids, yeah, like how are they gonna, kind of survive there? Kind of out there in the galaxy. Yeah. Uh so I don't know. I mean, hey, Star Wars fans, what I mean, I think you would have a little bit more of a beat on that than I would. How are they kind of feeling about this show?
Um, I think for the most part, it's pretty in the middle. It's kind of mixed, because this is like narratively, it's more cohesive than Acolyte. Acolyte, the show feels its narrative is mixed. It's all over the place. Like, are you focused on Chimere and the dark side and Plagueis, or are you focused on this coven of space witches and these twins who is just, kind of sloppy. Um, um, I feel like from what I'm seeing, a lot of people kind of feel the way I feel. The show is fine. It's just not what Star Wars needs right now after the Acolyte. After the Acolyte, we need something to hit, and this just isn't quite it. Um, but I haven't seen anyone like shit on the show or anything like that, because it's kids. How do you, it's hard. You got to be
Well, they'll find a way. They did it with little Annie. They did it with they'll find a way.
exactly, yeah, exactly. Oh man. But yeah, to do that, you got to be a low life to pick on kids. And like you said, I did like Jude Law's relationship and like his chemistry with the kids. He's a great actor. He knows how to he like, great actors, they can have chemistry with anyone, because they know how to play in a scene. But I did like how they did not go the classic Star Wars trope of, lone wolf and cub like they did with Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. Like, he never truly had that much of a soft spot for the kids, where he took them under his wing and like decided, I'm not going to harm you. When it came down to it, when it came down to finding Adat and finding the uh the massive vault of Republic Mint, or just credits, as they say.
Mhm.
um I'm glad he was a pirate through and through. I loved how happy he was when he's like basking in the money. Like, that's such a cool.
Scrooge McDuck type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a Scrooge McDuck villain thing to do. Like, when the pirate finally finds the treasure, like, like they start basking in it. They start like rolling around in it. Like, I found the treasure. That was a great pirate moment. And I agree with you, Josh. I'm glad they kept him a bad guy and didn't go with that um you melted my heart kind of trope. I'm glad he stayed evil. I wanted to know more about the Jedi who trained him. I wanted to know, is he a Forsaken Jedi? Is he a Order 66 survivor? I just wanted to know a bit more about him so I could care more about him, because I wanted to care about him because he's Jude Law. It's very rare I don't care about Jude Law's character at all in a show or a movie I'm seeing him in. Um, but I do agree. I love that they kept him evil, kind of like the Penguin. They didn't try to redeem Oz. He stayed a vile asshole to the end. But
So what will be your final thoughts rating for Skeleton Crew?
um, final thoughts. Well, yeah, just real quick. After Jude Law kills the massive droid with the lightsaber, what are the repercussions? Like, what does Adatin look like after they lost their leader, essentially? And the
Their
whole talk,
god.
yeah, like all the talk about the great work. Like, oh, I'm a data analyst. Like, it's so suburban, and the job sounds so intentionally boring. Like no kid wants to do what their parents do on Adatin, because their parents' jobs are
Yeah.
boring. uh,
System coordinator.
I'm Son, you're talking to a level 7 system coordinator. Wim's dad is such a dork. Like, he's such an 80s dad dork of a character. I thought he really nailed the hammy 80s parent that, like, who's kind of totally loves their kid, but he's like out of it. He has no idea what his kid's up to, what kind of danger. Like, the way he calls his name, Wim, wait, no, Wim. I'm like, dude, he's gone. Sit down. Shut up. Um, Final rating. All right, so it's not cinema. I think I'll say stream it.
Okay.
I think I'll say stream it. If you liked the Goonies, if you want something fresh and new in Star Wars, there's no denying this is fresh and new in Star Wars. Like I said, Episode 6 was really great. As someone who works with kids with special needs, seeing a child struggle with anxiety because they don't know how to advocate for themselves. They don't know how to tell their best friend who is able-bodied, hey, slow down for a second. I can't do that. Like, oh, yeah, you can. No, I can't, Fern. Like my augmentations are corroded. I'm shutting down. I need a moment to like change my battery. I need a moment. Like, you know, like meet me halfway. I thought that was just so well done, and I hope to see that again sometime in Star Wars. And like I said, Bryce Dallas Howard, I want her to do a movie because she's great. Um, More cohesive than Acolyte, and they don't do the lone wolf and pup thing with Jude Law and the kids like they did with Mandalorian and Obi-Wan. Um, it's just this is 5 years after Return of the Jedi, so this is same time as Ahsoka and Mandalorian. Someone commented because I said in my reaction I was hoping for some kind of connection to what Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are trying to do with like their Heir to the Empire movie, with the Return of Thrawn, and what that means for Star Wars going forward. Because this era, we have 30 years of story to tell between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. Can we tell that story? And I feel like in the end, Skeleton Crew didn't quite contribute to that. Not that it had to, but I kind of wanted it to. That's just me being a selfish fan, I guess. Um,
Mm.
I'll say stream it. Give it a chance. It's kids. It's Treasure Planet. It's Goonies. It's Peter Pan. It's pirates in a galaxy far, far away. And even though the show doesn't always feel like a galaxy far, far away, like Josh, I do want to get your thoughts. How do you feel about AT-AT and how suburban it looked?
Yeah, I mean, it's like in the prequels when there's like that 50s diner and it's like, wait, how
Yeah,
is there a 50s diner? Like, what are they replicating? Like a 50s America, but this is a planet and that has no connection to Earth or America. So it's like, what is it? Like, how is it a 50s diner? Like, what this doesn't make sense. So they kind of done that in Star Wars before. I don't know. I mean, what does a Star Wars suburban neighborhood kind of like? What would that really look like? Really, you know what I
yeah,
mean? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if you took some more time to really think about it and get creative, maybe it was like, okay, what would that really look like in the future, or this kind of
yeah,
maybe instead of just going like, well, it just looks like it looks like Champaign, Illinois. You know what I mean? There you go. I
yeah,
mean, it's there. All right, there you go. It's like, well, I don't know. Maybe you could have got a little bit more creative with that. Maybe it was to more hammer home the homages it's doing to all these different coming of age
yeah,
type stories. You could also say that with it as well. But yeah,
yeah.
um,
For me, it was kind of dipping into Canto Bite territory where like it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It feels like Star Trek. It feels like Earth just in the future. It doesn't feel like space fantasy galaxy far, far away. That's just personally how I felt. But yeah, I'll definitely say stream it. I wasn't crazy about the 2 part premiere. I didn't love the finale, but everything in between, I was vibing with for sure. So I'll say stream it.
yeah, yeah. I give it like a stream it there. I give it. I think I forgot what we gave Acolyte. Did you give Acolyte a stream it too? Like a stream it?
I did not. I think I gave Acolyte a tier below stream it.
Okay, like a skip it, like a skip it there.
I think I said skip it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's better than something like again, that's not a very high bar to jump over. If you are looking for something to bring you back to Star Wars, like, okay, I'm people are like with Star Wars, it's just like with Marvel. Like I'm sick of all this Marvel stuff. Tell me when
Yeah.
something's good and I'll watch it,
Exactly.
but
Yeah.
I'm
So
not gonna keep
yeah.
up anymore with all the stuff that they're putting out. I just can't. I'm just over it.
Yes. Like Star Wars is dead kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't that thing like you said. I mean, it's not the big swing that because like even with the Mandalorian, like I think the Mandalorian was like a big swing that a lot of people are like, oh, okay, well, I kind of like this. All right. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna watch all the things, but I do
Yeah.
like this and I think it's good. I don't think it's that. So if you're want it's like, is it something like that? No, it's not. It's okay. That's it. It's just aggressively okay. And that's why I'm gonna give it a stream it. I think it's got some decent things about it. Would I kind of go back and maybe revisit it or anything like that? Not really. I don't think so. But like I said, the kids work well. I like Jude Law. I think his chemistry with the kids. I like that they kept him a bad guy all the way through. the other different cast of characters that they run into along their adventure, all these other different bounty hunters and pirates. I thought they were good. Hey, we get Jaleel White. He shows up. Urkel.
Yeah,
Uh,
Jaleel White. I was like, okay. I mean, if you're gonna put him in the show, use him. He was definitely a side character. Like he was less than a side character.
yeah. So I mean, he comes in. I mean, he has a good role. He's like one of the leaders of the pirates, and
Yeah, got,
comes
got,
in.
got a little cyborg guy.
Yeah. So hey, I was like, hey, that's pretty nice there. Again of that. I mean, he was in a coming of age show of his own. He was in Family Matters there.
That's right.
So yeah. So I just give it a plain streaming for me. That's about it. So yeah, 2 streamings for Skeleton Crew. Streaming on Disney Plus now.